Hey, we are live. Welcome everybody to Jim Strange TV with me tonight, as always, the inimitable Garlock.
Hello.
Hey, and Megiddo's running a little late, but we're off to the races, man. Let's go.
Cool. Can
So,
I show off my props?
yes, sir. I absolutely want to see your prop.
Okay, so I got the old Anchor Bay 2000 release edition of Repo Man, which is my only
Nice.
copy. No extras, and I got a really cool shirt.
Hey, Fear. Fear, of course, have their song "Let's Have a War" on the Repo Man soundtrack. All right. So, Repo Man. The first thing I noticed here. It is Michael Nesmith Presents. Michael Nesmith, of course, being from the band The Monkees. Do you have a favorite Monkees song, Garlock?
I really don't know, man. I'm not too into them. I like that one that came out when I was a kid, when they had their reunion or whatever, Heart and Soul, I think it was.
I don't think I've heard that one. That's pretty good. I liked
I
Not
think
My
that was
Stepping
them.
Stone.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Megiddo did a song called "I'll Get Even with You," which was like a complete remake of "Not My Stepping Stone," which is pretty funny. But Michael Nesmith produced this movie, and he also produced Tape Heads with John Cusack and Tim Robbins, and Time Rider: The Adventure of Lyle Swan, which had Fred Ward in it, so it can't be all that bad, right?
Yeah, I have yet to see either of those films.
I would say this is probably the most memorable of the Michael Nesmith verse, as it were. I don't know if they're similar verse, but an Edge City production, Edge City being the name of Alex Cox, the director writer's first short film.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, we see Harry Dean Stanton has top billing, and Paris, Texas by Wim Wenders and Red Dawn by Jean Milius both came out the same year. So 1984 was kind of a stellar year for Mr. Stanton. Yeah, he had three very, very good classic movies by three very different directors.
In the next year, 1985, he played a guardian angel in this thing called One Magic Christmas, which is a really weird kind of family Christmas movie, but it's super dark. It has weird time travel shit, and Santa saves everything. It's weird, but yeah, he plays a guardian angel in that one.
Is he doing the classic Harry Dean Stanton kind of schlub routine?
Pretty much, yeah. He kind of has a little cowboy hat, and he's like kind of your everyman. I think his name's Gideon in that one.
Nice.
Which is kind of weird. That's the first thing I ever saw him in, was One Magic Christmas.
I think it was Roger Ebert who said any movie with Harry Dean Stanton in it can't be all bad.
Yeah,
he gives any movie he's in an additional star rating.
I could agree with that. Yeah, he's pretty badass.
It also has Emilio Estevez. He had done The Outsiders the previous year, but this was 84, and The Breakfast Club was not till 85. So this is kind of a breakout role for the Mighty Duck Man.
Yeah, he was in a movie called Nightmares, which came out, I think, in 83. It was a horror anthology that was originally supposed to be made for TV, but it was too gruesome, so they released it to theaters and stamped an R rating on it. But he's in a story in that one. I think I'd played this for you before, but it's called The Bishop of Battle, where he plays this video game obsessed punk rock kid, and he's listening to a Fear song in that movie. I can't remember which one. It might be let's start a war. Let's have a war. But that almost seemed like a real precursor to this character of Otto.
Well, you know, if you ever see Free Jack, it had Emilio Estevez and Mick Jagger.
I haven't seen it, but it's definitely on my bucket list.
He basically plays the same character. Wait 1 second here. I think Megiddo was in.
All right, cool.
Let's see. Are you ready, brah? Let's see if he's ready. But yeah, between Free Jack, Repo Man, and of course Young Guns, he was very much the penultimate kind of a petulant kind of punk rock child or man child kind of person. But I think Repo Man is maybe the start of that template for Emilio's career. Megiddo, how you been, man?
Howdy, howdy.
How's it going?
Megiddo, you missed it. What's your favorite Monkees song?
Honestly, I don't know too much of their catalog. I think my favorite's still probably just their they're self-titled. Hey, where are the monkeys?
That's a good choice. Hey,
Yeah,
can you hear everybody? Can you hear everybody? Okay, Megiddo.
Yeah,
is
I'm
everybody,
hearing both of you.
no
Yeah,
stutters.
Garlock
All
sounds
right,
good.
sounds good, man.
You're
Sounds
getting
good.
a little bit of stutter, but not too bad. Not like last time. So I think you're good.
Okay. My stuttering over there. I do also stutter in real life, so it's we got a dual stuttering problem. So
I talked to a
yeah,
guy today who had a really bad stammering problem, but I won't go into that now.
who was
But
that
he
guy?
was
Mel
pretty
Tillis,
much
the country
Porky Pig.
singer. There's a country singer named Mel Tillis, and I think he stuttered, and it was like his gimmick, where he would just show up to stutter in every music video. It was very, very weird. But okay, the map. Oh, wait, 1 second here. 1 second here. Trembling Colors says he plays a similar character in a segment of the anthology movie from the 80s called Nightmares.
I just said that, dude.
Oh, he just got here. I think he missed that.
Oh, okay. Hey, hi,
Yeah,
Trembling.
it's not his.
Sorry,
Yeah.
man. Now I feel bad. No,
That's
that's
cool,
awesome.
man.
Thanks.
Hey, Trembling, is everybody if even volume? Are we good to go? We're gonna keep.
That is a
anyway.
good question.
The map says Los Alamos, and we get the thunderous opening chords of Repo Man by Iggy Pop. It is a very punk rock opening, and you got the big red letters on the green backdrop, kind of like the backdrop of the opening kind of looks like the computer at the end of Return of the Living Dead, that very 80s war room kind of look.
And actually, it kind of looks like Fallout 4 especially, but there's other versions where the map kind of has that same look.
I wouldn't know. I haven't played any video game post 2003, but
that's cool, man. Written and directed by Alex Cox in his feature-length directing debut. He would later make Sid and Nancy and Straight to Hell. Have you guys seen Sid and Nancy or Straight to Hell?
I've seen both of them. Sid and Nancy a long time ago. Straight to Hell has a lot of the same people that are in Repo Man.
Oh, nice.
Really?
I only saw Straight to Hell once, so it's not too memorable.
I've intended to see Sid and Nancy, but I haven't seen it yet. Another one I got to catch up on.
I've always seen it around, but never really, it wasn't trendy enough. Trembling Colors, have you seen Sid and Nancy? And is it any good? All right, the film starts dusty California road, and we have a motorcycle cop, and he sees an old Chevy Malibu go by, and he pulls him over. And we see the man driving the car, and he has notably one eye blacked out in his glasses. It's like sunglasses, and he's missing a lens. We get a little bit of the ubiquitous. It's the ubiquitous one eye. He is an initiate into something, I guess you could say. In the land of the blind, the one man is king, and this man is a would-be king of something. He's humming to himself. The guy says, "From out of town, huh? What you got in the trunk?" And he says, "Oh, you don't want to look in there." And he asks him for the keys. He opens the trunk, and it's glowing, and the cop is incinerated as the driver watches in the rearview mirror. And there's nothing left but a pair of steaming boots. This came out a few years after Indiana Jones, the first one. I think that was 81. The scene is kind of reminiscent of that. Hey, Trembling Colors, you're back. Where'd you go?
Whoa.
Not Trembling Colors, Megiddo. I'm sorry. There's Megiddo. I watched it the hell last night. It's got the whole band of the Pogues as coffee-titted cowboy outlaws. It's kind of nonsensical, but has a good long bloody gunfight between all the characters. Oh, okay.
All right, yeah.
That sounds pretty cool.
I should watch it again, definitely.
So
the good time.
So the car is kind of like it has some significance. The guy driving it is a one-eyed bandit, I guess you could say.
The car is clearly the MacGuffin in this film.
Absolutely, the MacGuffin, or the some would say a Grail, but we'll come back to that. We are now at a grocery store, and we have Emilio there, and he's wearing a bow tie, and he has a cross earring, and he's with this guy who is this character is like every movie watched so far, I think has had this character, but the stereotypical 80s nerd.
Yep.
The guy's in all these movies.
This one I think is the most pronounced. This is just complete caricature.
There's no mistaking what this guy's deal is. They are stacking a tower of canned sliced peaches, and the nerd guy, he is actually singing a 7-Up commercial song. So this guy, you could say, is absolutely drinking the Kool-Aid. He's the guy. He probably heard that like at a training meeting or something, and he's just bought in. He has bought a hook, line, and sinker, and he is he's doing.
He seems to be all in for his employment opportunities.
He's indoctrinated.
Yes.
Yeah.
So right out of the gate, this movie has a very adversarial relationship with consumerism. It's not a fan.
Yeah, I definitely noticed that. By the way, for anybody that's tuning in, this is actually the first time that I saw it. Today was actually the first time I saw it. So I noticed a few of these things just right off the bat, and the anti-consumerism is just, it's blatant in it. I didn't even have to do any second or third views. It's right there, all pink.
It's certainly not subtle. It's certainly not subtle.
No.
Oh, Trembling Colors is back. Sid and Nancy is all right, but if you don't care about the Sex Pistols, and it's just whatever. But Gary Oldman is good as Sid Vicious. Gary Oldman is always pretty sweet.
Yeah,
he is a chameleon.
The why so tense guy, says the nerd to Emilio. He keeps calling Emilio Guy. It's very irritating. It's a very irritating nickname.
It's like people calling everybody boss or something. What's up, boss?
Yeah, it's the boss or chief of the.
Yeah, what's up, chief?
It's like I don't have a personality or any verbal skills, so I'm just going to call everybody this annoying nickname. So yeah, we this guy sucks.
Dude, but that's different, you know.
Yeah. Dude's a term of endearment.
Yeah,
exactly. There's a big wall behind him now of white boxes that just say cornflakes. It's
everything's generic. Everything in this movie is generically labeled, like blue writing on white backdrop.
I actually did some research into it, and I found out why that is. It's basically just because they could not get a sponsorship for this movie in the pre-production. They tried, they looked into it, and nobody would actually sponsor this movie, despite the fact that Emilio Estevez, who he wasn't giant at the time, but he was starting to, he had a career that was getting built up at this point, and they just wouldn't sponsor the movie. So they did everything generic, and it kind of fits in with the anti-consumerism aspect of everything, I think.
Yeah, it totally works. I thought it was on purpose. Yeah, what are you doing, Jim?
Yeah.
I'm just moving things around. There, we're back to where we were. Megiddo, where are you, man? You're vanished. Where's your head?
Oh, do you see me?
You can see him?
Yeah.
Huh.
Oh, yeah, I can't see him. Oh, that's okay. That's okay.
He's over there.
I'm blaming StreamYard. I just can't see your head.
Should, man. They want you to pay for it,
Come on, StreamYard. You want to get well, we're talking anti-consumerism here, so maybe not.
We get a sponsorship.
You want to get a shout out, StreamYard? Give us a sponsor and make this not happen anymore.
They get a shout out no matter what, because their big logo is up here.
Yeah, they're right here.
Just give us some generic unmarked cornflakes and we'll be happy.
Yeah, exactly. We don't need much.
Or some drink. I could use some drink right now.
What about beer? I love
food. No, we'll get to that.
Yeah, that's later.
So the manager guy shows up, and the manager guy's a jerk, and he tells Emilio and
Mr. Humphreys.
Yes, Mr. Humphreys.
Yeah.
Emilio,
who is Kevin. I'm doing my due diligence and remembering people's names.
Emilio is Otto. We will refer to him as Otto from now on.
Maddox. I learned his last name because it's on a printout in the movie. So it's Otto Maddox.
Wow, that is...
Well, the manager guy is not happy because Otto was late. And he says normally he'd let it go, but it's been brought to his attention that he has not been spacing the cans properly. It's very that happened to me at a job once. You remember Garlock when we worked together at a store, and we had a somewhat fascist manager who would kind of bring the hammer down on me because I didn't space things correctly. And it's just a dick pull power move, by a boss who was looking for a reason to be a jerk.
Yeah, it's nothing that anybody should care about. I mean, even at a grocery store, like every place has their allotted, section, but who cares,
Yeah.
It's just
So
ridiculous.
it should be noted the manager has a security guard with him. He is literally there in a show of force as he reprimands Otto for some trivial BS. He just gets a kick out of putting the boot in the neck. He's not a great guy.
No. He's
And
very much a fan of being the badge.
He's telling Otto that many young men of your age in these uncertain times are looking for a job or something. And he's like, Otto, are you paying attention to me? And the security guard in a very thick accent says, hey, he's talking to you. He's the heavy. And Otto just looks at the manager and says, F you. And nerd guy Kevin kind of obstinately chuckles about the situation. And Otto pushes him back over the stack of cans for whatever reason, because that's just kind of how Otto rolls.
The first in a very long line of Otto being a dick to the nerd who really isn't. Honestly, he's kind of a sympathetic character.
I don't know if I go that far.
I think he's sort of like the annoying tag along that kind of talks too much shit and like eventually gets, because like
I don't.
He's at all the punk rock parties and stuff, and he's Otto's friend, but he just kind of gets on his nerves, I guess.
Yeah, and I think we've all had that friend.
Well, he kind of always says the wrong thing in every situation. He kind of opens himself up to be the object of scorn in some ways.
Yeah, I mean, he certainly has earned a lot of it.
The security guard now pulls his gun and calls Otto a pendejo.
Otto, that was a little extreme.
Yeah, well, pulling a gun on the guys.
Drawing down on him for knocking over some cans, but whatever. I've had guns pulled on me by cops for less, so whatever.
Oh, my goodness. Otto gives him the double bird salute. And he says, just try it. Come on. The rented cop wants a reason to shoot Otto. And Otto takes off his bow tie and throws it on the ground. And the guard kind of spins his revolver like a cowboy.
Delusions of grandeur there.
Absolutely. And
certainly fancier than he really is.
And they say to the nerd guy, "What are you laughing at, Louis? Throw him out too." And Louis picks up the nerd guy and says, "Come on, you effing worm!" And they're thrown out.
And it makes me wonder, like, why are you going to fire the two guys that are on shift now? Like, you want to space all those cans yourself, Humphreys? Like, what are you doing?
I guess
they got with that.
They got somebody else lined up, I guess. The next scene, it is a slam dance, and it is an abandoned part of town. We see some graffiti. There's some circle jerk graffiti. There's some Iggy graffiti. Some graffiti that says "Punk's not dead." Mau Mouse. Does anybody know what Mau Mouse is? Is that a band?
I haven't heard of that. I know there's Dead Mouse, but that was probably 20 years after this movie.
Maybe there's some punk rock experts listening here. Coup d'etat by the Circle Jerks is playing. This song is originally on their album Golden Showers, or a Golden Shower of Hits, with Keith Morris, formerly of Black Flag, on vocals. Garlock, are you a Circle Jerks fan?
I haven't really listened to them as much as I should. I like them from what I've heard, but they're not like ingrained into my brain like other stuff like Fear or Misfits. Or
how was the Keith Morris Black Flag era, and how does it compare to the Henry Rollins era?
It was 4 songs. I mean, all the diehard like Black Flag fans are like, everything after Keith Morris sucks. So it's okay. You don't like any of their albums. Cool. Like, you're not a fan, I like.
Man, that gets into a whole different discussion.
My taste is in my ass.
We see a kid with a Sid Vicious shirt that says "I Did It My Way," a reference to the Sid Vicious Frank Sinatra cover. This character Duke, he is played by Dick Rude. Garlic, what is your favorite Dick Rude movie?
I guess this one.
I guess. Well, he was also Night of the Comet, Rock and Roll Hotel.
Shit, he was.
And Sid Nancy.
I love Night of the Comet, man.
Who did Night of the Comet?
Oh, I can't remember who directed it, but I remember seeing it when I was a little kid, and it's about Halley's Comet, like turning people into zombies and melting them. And I remember it scaring the shit out of me when I was a kid. And I watched it like a few years ago, and it's just kind of happy-go-lucky, couple chicks like going around blowing away zombies. Pretty rad.
Yeah, Dick Rude is a pretty good.
Good.
Dick Rude's pretty good showbiz name, I guess. If you're going to be the go-to punk rock guy.
Yeah. Sounds like a wrestler name, but like Dick Murdoch and Ravishing Rick Rude had a kid together or something.
Yeah. Oh, I don't want to think about that. Otto, he's in the mosh pit, and he's wearing a white button shirt over a white button shirt over a gray shirt. And on the back of his white button shirt, he has like a scary monster, and it's kind of drawn on with a Sharpie. Very punk rock. Very. And Otto and Duke are now doing a slam dance kind of deal. And we are now in a bedroom, like at a party.
Where'd Megiddo go?
Hey, Megiddo, what are you doing? Stop phasing in and out of reality.
Yeah, just wanted him here.
Today's not a temporal loop.
Otto, he is in bed with a lady friend, and he's taking off his pants while institutionalized about suicidal tendency plays in the background. He lays back and says, okay. Basically, he's giving this chick permission to go to town on him. And she turns the tables.
Dick, dude.
She turns the tables and asks him to go get another beer. So he's going out to this punk rock party, and you see there's a giant mohawk guy with a denim vest. And you hear someone getting razzed in the background. They're like, hey, a joke's a joke. I'm supposed to be the host here. And it's Kevin. The nerdy guy, Kevin, is getting beat up in the background of the scene. Beer is just a white can that says beer on it.
Yes.
He comes back to the bedroom, and he is getting cucked. He is getting cucked by Duke. Duke is now like getting on with his lady friend.
I forgot his girlfriend's name. My bad. Like I really tried, but I forgot.
She's not too. She's kind of in Duke's crew, but she's not a majorly pivotal character.
Yeah, she's tertiary, but whatever.
Yeah.
Oh well. If I were getting paid, I'd do more.
She says that he's nothing but a big baby, and Otto gets his pants. And nerd guy Kevin shows up now, and he's got this cool shirt that says "Kill 'em all, let God sort 'em out." Very, very, very punk rock. Very punk rock for a nerd guy like this to be wearing.
That's why the punk rockers let him hang out.
Yeah, he must be somewhat cool. Duke tells him to turn off the effing light as he leaves. And we hear nerd guy Kevin freaking out because that's his parents' room that they are about to face.
That was an interesting thing because I don't feel like there was really much of a setup for that being his parents' house.
Well, it's obvious that they're using him. He's not really a cool guy, but he has a house that they can party at. And he probably got Otto the job, which Otto
probably
got
yeah.
So I can see Kevin being kind of sympathetic, I guess. He's kind of taken advantage of by this group of riffraff. Otto, he's looking dejected, and he's drinking a 6-pack of the generic Repo Man brand beer. And
beer.
And he's on the train track, and he mouths, "Don't want to talk about anything else. Don't talk about anything else. We don't want to know. We're just dedicated to our favorite show," which are lyrics to the song from the prior scene, TV Party by Black Flag. And so he's kind of just taking the party with him. Yeah, like he doesn't need the party. He'll just bring it with him, and he's keeping it going by himself, which is that's kind of his very telling of his character. He's very individualistic. He's very he's a man alone in the world. Then he starts screaming the lyrics, which are names of various TV shows: Saturday Night Live, Monday Night Football, and he mentions the Flintstones, which I don't think were even in the original song.
Probably not. I was trying to place that.
I know Gilligan's Island was. I thought it was pretty much lyrics verbatim, but I could be wrong.
It feels very organic. It feels like okay, Mau Mouse, Trembling Colors is back. He says Mau Mouse is a proto-punk band. He personally likes the Keith Morris, Blair, Black Flag, and Circle Jerks. He loves None of the Comet, best female characters. Dick Rude is a lead in Straight to Hell. Oh, okay. We have a Dick Rude aficionado here. That's good. That's good. That's what we need.
We got to get you on the show, Trembling. Just give me a week off or something. No, I don't want a week off. But if I ever do, man, you're invited.
Hey, how's it going, Christina Dode? Hopefully I said that right.
Hi, Christina.
Hopefully we said that right.
No,
Yeah, how you
it's
doing?
Dodd.
Okay, Dodd.
That's my girlfriend,
Hey,
Christina.
how's it going, Christina? Walking down the road now is Otto, and hears someone say, "Hey, kid, it's Harry Dean Stanton." And he says, "Hey, kid, want to make $10?" and he says, "F you, Q word that yeah that."
Oh, okay, dude, Jim. We might not want to do the melon farmer version of this actual stream because
It's
there's a
true.
lot of cussing in this
Oh, don't
movie,
worry.
and we might
I've got
have to say the words.
I've got melon farmer versions of every curse word in my script. Don't worry.
Well, Q word, sort of. I mean,
he says
how about
F
queen?
you. Yeah,
Queen.
he calls me queen.
Yeah, but he cuts off the N.
He calls him it's basically he's insinuating that Harry Dean Stanton is some kind of cruiser who's looking for young tail in the form of young men walking around.
Where'd Megiddo go?
Megiddo, where'd he go? I don't know where he went.
He's stuck in the time vortex.
He is. Harry Dean Stanton says, "Hey, wait a minute, kid, you got the wrong idea. Look, my old lady's real sick. I got to take her to the hospital, okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, so take her there." And he says, "I can't." 1 second here. I hit the click button too far ahead of my script here.
Oh.
So he's basically like he's running some kind of scam here. "Hey, Megiddo, you're back."
Apologies for the dropout there. My internet's being weird, but I just wanted to give a shout out. My girlfriend is Christina Dodd. She's the one that supplies these guys while we're sitting here talking, and she has been very supportive of this, which I have been very thankful for. So
that's good.
Awesome.
I'm glad she gives you some time to yourself. So take her there. Otto isn't having it. And he says, I can't leave her in the car in this bad area. I need some helpful soul to drive it for me. She's pregnant with twins. She could drop at any time. And he offers him $15. He sounds like a complete, cock or something. Anyway, he gives Otto $25 and gives him the keys to the car. And he's got to get this car out of this bad area. And he turns on the radio, and the plugs, the punk band The Plugs, are playing, and the song is O Clavo y la Cruz, which I'm sure I butchered. Otto's taking a sweet. He's taking a sweet time. So a very sweaty looking Stanton starts honking his horn and saying, "Hey, let's go!" And then this very angry looking Hispanic couple run out to the car, and they're chasing Otto.
I love this sequence. It's so fun.
This was very weird.
He calls him a puta and he kind of puts his hand through the window and starts choking Otto, like right through the window. And Otto floors it, and the old Hispanic guy just wipes out. And Otto realizes what's happened here, and he's having a good time. He doesn't know exactly what's going on, but he digs it. And he follows Stanton to the repo yard. And a sketchy guy in a jumpsuit opens the gate. And we will come back to him later. And the place is pretty run down. It's very, very gross kind of looking place. Stanton comes in, and a couple is threatening everyone to give him his car. There's a rent-a-cop guy. There's a balding middle-aged guy behind the counter. And Otto asks, "Hey, what happened to your old lady?" to Stanton. And he's like, "Oh, I forgot all about her. She'll be okay. She'll take the bus. She's a rock."
She's a rock.
This is actually where I first noticed it. I kind of wanted to point this out. This movie, especially in the beginning, but at this point, it really kind of cemented it. I feel like had either some influence on or was influenced by They Live. This is where I started getting the same vibes that I felt with They Live in terms of the filmography, the direction, just the overall feel of the movies.
Is there any connection between Alex Cox and John Carpenter? I would not know.
I looked. I couldn't find anything.
Not that I know of.
Maybe it's
They
just
Live
kind of
came out some years after this.
Yeah, maybe it's just something that's in the ether. It's kind of the 80s pastiche feel going. What's your name, kid? Otto. Otto Parts. Very very kind of dad joke. Here you go, kid. And they toss him a generic Repo Man brand beer. And the receptionist asks him if he has his license.
Marlene.
Marlene, thank you for that name. She is a integral character later.
Yeah, I forgot the boss's name, but the rent-a-cop is Pletchner because everybody's like, "Shut up, Pletchner," throughout the entire movie.
They ask him, "Hey, you need help with that beer, kid?" And he's like, "You're all Repo Man. What if we are?" And Otto takes the beer and just dumps it on the floor. He has no respect for the Repo Man profession at all.
No respect for any authority whatsoever.
And Stanton, who we will now call Bud, because that is the character's name, says, kid, usually when someone pulls something like that, my first reaction is I want to pound his effing lights out. But you know something? And they all chant together, "You're all right.
You're all right."
That was a very strange chant, but I guess maybe that's kind of the way that they run things at the...
I think it's part of the repo code.
Yeah, they're it's a fraternity. And Otto has just shown that he has what it takes to be part of the fraternity via his boldness and his lack of respect. They dig it.
Got to be a little bit anti-establishment to steal cars for a living.
Yeah, exactly. They ask the kid if he wants a job. "What do you say, kid? We're always on the lookout for a few good men." And he's like, "Screw that. I ain't going to be no Repo Man. No way." Very, very Bart Simpson kind of attitude here. It's that 80s kind of punk vibe. And then Marlene says, "It's too late. You already are." And she hands him a big stack of money for the car he just stole.
I think that's the $25. I don't think Bud gave it to him earlier.
Oh, okay. Otto leaves. He's got a hoodie around his waist with a skeleton dude on the back of it. He's always punked out a little bit. I gotta say, I don't know when this come up again. The punk rock vibe of this movie is very different than Return of the Living Dead. Return of the Living Dead has more. It's very much more of a small town punk rock kind of feel, where like everybody's kind of like a larger than life cartoon character living in their own little world. And this punk rock scene, it's more reality based, and because they're in LA, everybody's kind of beat down. It's a much more cynical and less fun punk rock vibe going.
I could.
Yeah, it certainly feels. Yeah, it feels a lot more realistic.
Travis
Except
Walter
for all
now.
the generic hands, but that's still more realistic than zombies, I guess.
It's true. In this movie, the consumers are the zombies. Yeah, that's it. Travis Walter is in the role of Miller, and he stops and hands me a car freshener Christmas tree thing. Tracy Walter.
Yeah.
Oh, how about Travie? What the hell?
Dyslexia
strikes again.
Oh, shit.
He was in Conan the Understory. What else is he in? He was Bob in Batman. In Batman, he was the main henchman. Probably his biggest role. But he has this Christmas tree air freshener, and he says, "You'll find one in every car. You'll see." Miller, he's basically your typical car lot runner. The guy they don't trust to do the actual job, but he takes care of the busy work.
He's pretty scrubby.
Yeah.
He's also standing. He's standing in front of a barrel that says Persona on it. Foreshadowing? I don't know. We shall see.
Possibly.
We're back now to the bike cut from earlier. His motorcycle is sitting there all by itself with a pine tree car freshener hanging from the mirror. Why would a motorcycle need an... Yes.
This was actually another scene that ties into what I was talking about earlier with the lack of being able to get any sponsors. The air fresheners created by and I can't remember the name of the company, but they were actually one of the few sponsors that would jump into this movie. So the air fresheners, I don't know if they were necessarily part of the original script, but they were included because they were a sponsor of the script or of the movie.
That's a nice way to jettison them in. Yeah, we have they tie some scenes together. Why would a motorcycle need an air freshener? I don't know, but it helped the scene out.
Every car has one.
We see some people in radiation suits, and they're looking for something. Well, surf guitar plays in the background, and the policeman follows this lady who's kind of dressed like she's going to a funeral. Somebody asks her, what could have done that to him? Gasoline, napalm? Lady says it happens sometimes. People just explode, natural causes. And
spontaneous human combustion. It's a real thing.
It happens. And it happens. She
I mean,
gets into
considering
this
some of
truck.
the themes we get later, that's not too outside the box.
She gets into a truck full of high-tech gizmos, leaving the inquisitive police officer outside. And we are now back to Otto. He is hanging out with Kevin, and it is raining. And Otto is wearing a very Mickey Rooney-looking rain hat. Kevin has some sweet Converse sneakers, and he has his pants legs rolled up. Because even though he is a nerd, he is a punk rock nerd. And they're looking for a job. Otto thinks that they're all joke jobs, but Kevin thinks if he becomes a fry cook, he could be manager in 2 years.
God.
Which would make
He could be
a
God.
king, a god.
Yeah.
Very stark difference between the two characters. Kevin is a Kool-Aid drinker. Otto is not. He is not with the program. He does not think it's all good. All right.
Otto's just anti-everything. He's a white suburban punk.
He is. He tells Kevin, I had this wild dream tonight. It was you and I, and we were working in the sleazy hotel down in Miami, Florida, and we are bellhops, and we were 65 years old. It was so real. It was really real. So he has some anxiety about joining the workforce, and it kind of feels like he'll just be this loser forever and be an old man working as a bellhop, and he'll be stuck with this nerd guy. And Kevin's like, then
I'll
what
probably
happened?
be a
You wake up.
bellhop when I'm 65. You know?
I probably too, if I'm lucky.
I mean, hopefully we'll be in the same hotel. That'll be cool.
Then what happened? You wake up in a puddle, and Otto kind of hits Kevin on the chin and walks off. And he's like, "Where are you going, a-hole? Away from you." So he's had it with Kevin.
Kevin's just annoying, like he just says the wrong thing at the wrong time. Like Otto's like doing one of his like very rare introspective poignant moments, and Kevin's like, "Oh, you pissed yourself," and so yeah.
Kevin's kind of just a solo stooge.
This
so
is
Otto
where we start to lose any connection to him.
Otto gets off the bus.
Every kind of weird punk crew has one of them. Like there's
That's-
always
that-
like the
that-
outcast.
that is true.
outcast crew. Yeah.
That's true. Otto is home, and his parents are watching a televangelist. And the televangelist is talking about the evils of godless communism abroad and liberal humanism at home. It seems pretty cool to me.
Yeah.
Hello, mother. Hello, father. Do we have anything to eat? And there's a bunch of cans of generic food in the fridge.
I noticed it more with this scene because, again, like I want to make it clear, this is the first time I'd seen it was actually today in preparation for this. But I didn't really recognize the fact that these were generic items until this point when he pulls out the can of food.
Yeah.
And really, you shouldn't keep open tin cans in the fridge, because they'll oxidize and they'll get all shitty, fuck up your food.
The televangelist now is just shamelessly asking for the money. And we see that the parents are burnout hippies, and they are totally hypnotized by the TV. Would they be boomers? Or I think they might be a little bit older than boomers with a silent generation.
They're boomers.
Maybe? Okay, they're
boomers.
They're early boomers. Okay.
Yeah, hippies are boomers.
He asked his dad.
1945, so yeah, they're boomers.
Okay. He asks his dad for $1,000, but his dad doesn't have any more because he gave it all away to the televangelist. And his mom takes a big drag of dope, and she says that we're sending Bibles to El Salvador. And they're kind of this, they're like a pastiche of boomer cliches. And next shot, Otto is with Bud. He is chosen the Reaper life. How much do I get paid? $25 a car? Paid? You don't get paid. You work in commission. That's better than getting paid. And he starts giving him numbers about how he can make $200 a car. And if a nice one, he might make a few grand. He tells him it helps if he dresses like a detective, too. Detectives dress kind of square. If people think he's a cop, they'll think he's packing something. They won't mess with you as much. And he asked.
That was an interesting scene for me. Especially his use of the word square. That seemed a little anachronistic, even for the 80s.
Oh, but I mean, Bud's a little older, so
Bud, he's probably like 50.
That's true.
I mean, yeah, Harry Dean was like 90 something when he died a few years ago. So
he was probably
he was pushing 60.
He must have been a teenager in the 40s or 50s. So yeah, that'd be a word he would use.
I think it works.
And real quick, thank you to Christina for the resupply.
Oh my goodness. Guys that make it are guys can get in their cars at any time. Get in at 3 a.m., get up at 4. That's why there isn't Repo Man I know who doesn't do speed. And the next scene, they're doing lines together.
And see, that was something that I always questioned, because I always thought of speed and coke as different drugs. I don't know drugs that well, so
I think it's supposed to be like that.
I think any kind of upper.
Yeah.
I think
that was kind of what I figured, but
yeah,
maybe the director doesn't really.
Never broke into a car. Go Garlock.
I'm pretty sure in this era, like snortable white powder was in addition to also pills, like caffeine pills, but snortable white powder was pretty much called speed.
Okay.
But I don't think it was coke. I think it was just some basement meth, some crap.
Something they found in a car they repoed?
Yeah.
Possibly.
Well, maybe not. Probably not, actually, not Bud. Like he wouldn't take it from a car he repoed, as we'll get to later. But
it's too wise.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Well, it's the repo code. He won't break the repo code.
And the repo code is he's never broken into a car, he's never hotwired a car, never broke into a trunk. I shall not cause harm to any vehicle, nor the personal contents thereof, nor through inaction let that vehicle, nor the personal contents thereof come to harm. Very, very, very thorough. And he says, that's what I call the repo code, kid. Don't forget it. Etch it into your brain. Not too many people have a code anymore. And it's kind of in any kind of profession like that, it's kind of like being a carny. Every outlaw profession has its own kind of a kayfabe sort of rules. Jim Keller says I might have been crushed amphetamine pills. That's very likely. I think so.
Yeah,
right.
Good call.
That was very good. Yeah.
Then he points to some folks getting towed, and he says, "Look at those a-holes over there. Ordinary people. I hate them. He's a bit of a misanthrope." And Otto says, "Me too." He also hates them. And he says, "What do you know? See, an ordinary person spends his life avoiding tense situations. A Repo Man spends his life getting into tense situations. Let's go get a drink."
I think we can relate to that, Jim, with the old jobs we've had.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very you definitely start feeling like you're an outcast and you don't like normal people anymore.
This is also kind of where the relatability comes in, especially for later movies. You look at The Matrix and the whole idea of the normies don't understand. They're not going to take the red pill. They're going to take the blue pill and go back to sleep. So it's kind of that normies versus the awakened folks, which I think a lot of people, both on pretty much every side of the spectrum, have some relationship with.
Well, I definitely think illumination is a key of this movie.
Oh, yeah.
They're at the store getting more beer, and Bud is doing his rap still. He says, "Tense situation, kids. I've seen 4 or 5 a day, and it doesn't mean shit to me. I've seen men get stabbed, and it doesn't mean shit. I've seen guns too. They don't mean shit, but you got to watch yourself." And so much for not cussing. Have a nice day.
He's so good.
I see the cat.
He says, "Have a nice day." Otto says, "No, it's night. Night, day doesn't mean shit." He's just on a roll. He is in full crabby misanthrope mode. And as they leave, a bunch of hoods are hiding behind the counter and proceed to rob the clerk. One of the punks recognized Otto. Hey, wasn't that Otto? Otto who? I think that was Duke. It was Duke and his old lady friend.
Yep.
And Duke recognizes Otto. The chick has already forgotten he exists. That's cold.
Certainly felt to me like it was an intentional, oh, I don't know who that is, sort of thing.
Yeah. We see now the guy in the spooky Chevy Malibu with the radioactive trunk from earlier, and he drives right by the van of folks looking for him. All right. It's very, LA seems kind of like a small place in this universe.
Yeah.
It's a small world, but somehow the Chevy Malibu has been driving for days just around the city, but apparently in the only a few blocks area.
I don't know if you've ever been in LA traffic. Yeah, that's possible. I've been down there. Went down to Burbank area many years ago, and even though we flew into the Burbank airport, it took almost an hour to get from the Burbank airport to Universal Studios, which isn't that far. It's not even 10 miles. LA traffic is just awful.
Bud and Otto are now going through the LA. It looks like a drainage area or something, very on the outskirts here.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Are you talking about the LA River?
Is that where they were?
Because
I bet something colors
that spot where it's like that, and then kind of diagonal where you've got kind of the it looks like a canal. Yeah, that's the LA River. They actually.
Oh, okay.
I know this is completely off course, but that actually used to be just a natural river. The LA River originally was a small river, almost a creek, really, but they converted it. They said, no, screw you, water. You don't get to go where you want to. We're going to put concrete in here, and we're going to make you basically an aqueduct.
Gotcha.
So when you see a lot of those scenes, that's the LA River.
Huh.
Bud says there's going to be some bad stuff come down one day, kid. And Otto's like, yeah, where are you going to be, the moon? And he says he's going to be right here, headed north, 110 per hour. In this junker, so there's some banter. There's some what looks like some cholo is coming up behind him, though. And it's the Rodriguez brothers. And the Rodriguez brothers, they're kind of the rival Repo Men. Does that sound about right, Garlock?
Oh, totally, yeah. The one that Otto works for is a Helping Hand Corporation, and then I don't know what the Rodriguez brothers' name is, but it's probably just Rodriguez Brothers Repossessions, I'm guessing. But yeah, they're
that's
definitely
the LA River.
Yep. Tripling kind of jumped in and said
some great cinematography in the night scenes. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Them and the Rodriguez brothers yell insults at one another. And they have this situation where they're kind of racing each other while surf guitar plays. And they run. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say that's because I'm going to bring this up later. This was something that you and I had talked about before, but this is one of the first times that I really started recognizing where possibly, I can't say for sure, but this may have been one of the influences for Quentin Tarantino, especially for Pulp Fiction. Because that surf music,
the surf guitar. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I think surf guitar was kind of a hip, cool thing in the 80s and like 90s, I guess. But I think Tarantino definitely took it to another level.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this movie's certainly influential.
Oh yeah.
They run Otto and Bud off the road, and Otto says, "Well, that was intense." And Bud says, "A Repo Man is always intense."
Man,
Otto was loving it.
Jim. Did you write down what Bud yells at the Rodriguez brothers?
No, I did not. What does he yell at them?
Oh, I can't remember.
I wrote down Bud yells insults at them is what I wrote.
Oh, what is it? Hold on. It's like, goddamn dipshit Rodriguez gypsy dildo punks.
Yes, I do remember that part.
He had a litany of insults, as it were. So Otto is like cops and robbers, real life car chases. He likes it. All right. We come back now. The robbers, the punk crew led by Duke, they're on a robbing spree, and they leave this place right as Bud and Otto pull up. And these guys bump into each other a lot. A lot of happenstance.
A little bit of some kind of serendipity there between those crews. It's kind of funny.
So who are these Rodriguez boys? Two notorious delinquents currently responsible for 30 vehicles in the field. And it's scumbags. They're not scumbags. They're car thieves, just like us. And he is now with a different Repo Man. He is with Cy Richardson as Light.
By the way,
And,
the recognition that the repo position, it's basically car thieves, even though they're trying to reclaim it for their rightful owners who have done the loans. Still, I mean, the actions that they take are pretty close to the same thing. So that recognition, or at least understanding, is pretty cool.
You guys ever see that TV show in the 2000s, Repo Man Stealing for a Living? It was like a Repo Man reality show when it had like an Italian guy from the Sopranos on it.
I know I'd seen one repo show. There's been a few of them.
Well, he would be like with some Repo Man, and the Repo Man would be like, so what's the show called? And he's like, Repo Man Stealing for a Living. And the Repo Man was like, that's messed up, man. I'm not a thief. I don't steal. And like he took it very personally. And it's like, geez, dude, you're not living by the repo code, man. But even in even in other less honorable professions, that people lie to themselves about what they do. They can kind of fool themselves.
Oh yeah. So at least they're honest with themselves about it.
I'm a liquor clerk. I sell booze.
So
I'm an insurance salesman.
Oh, there we go. Otto gives a bag with a rat in it to this lady. Or he gives this rat to this lady. And he tosses it in her car and like thinking that she'll jump out and run away, but she just pepper sprays him. And he gets pepper sprayed and Light just drives off and leaves him. So
yes.
Yep. This was probably the first scene that I noticed that was kind of like the first quarter of the movie felt pretty straightforward and it was normal, but this was the first scene where I just felt like there was something disjointed about the writing.
It's episodic. Maybe like they wrote some separate gags and they kind of shoehorn them in. Now the black guy who plays Light plays a character in Straight to Hell called Norwood, who was absolutely who Tarantino based Jules and Pulp Fiction on, whether he admits it or not.
That makes sense.
I could see that.
There we go. Okay.
Because he definitely does. Great. Yeah. Because he definitely does have a very Jules feel to him.
They are after a millionaire's car. Bud doesn't understand why millionaires don't pay their bills. Bud insists on doing it, but because the guy has a permit for a pistol, like he's like, hey, I'll do this, kid. This guy's got a gun. But Otto grabs the keys and tells him not to underestimate him. The car is pretty slick, and they're at this disgusting coin-up laundry. Why would a rich guy be at this laundry? Maybe he owns it. Maybe he's has some crime going on here. Maybe it's a front. Must be up to something shady.
I'd say like owns it and it's a front.
Definitely a hanging plot thread.
The millionaire guy is in the sleazy kind of beach suit with a holster on his hip. Was open carry a thing back then in LA? Apparently.
Yeah, because it wasn't made completely illegal until I want to say 2002 or 3.
Oh, okay.
No, it was later than that. Yeah, it was mid 2000s that they made it illegal to open carry. Obviously, open carry with a round of the chamber was illegal before 1980s, but yeah, they didn't make it illegal to open carry until the mid to late 2000s.
Okay. Otto sees a lady running, and he asks her if she needs a ride. And as he does so, he runs into this giant pile of garbage. And the song playing is Pablo Picasso by Jonathan Richman. Jonathan Richman, didn't he do the music in Something About Mary? Oh, well.
Not sure.
Wikipedia be that guy. I don't know.
I used to work with a guy who is like a major Jonathan Richman fan, strangely enough, and he would rattle off this trivia about him.
I'll mention that song is pretty on the nose, considering I think there's the discussion shortly after this or shortly before. I'm trying to remember where it was in the movie, but they were actually talking about Picasso.
Interesting. And an old lady tells Otto to pick up the pile of garbage that he just ran over. And he is like, well, why was it in the middle of the road? She says it wasn't. It was on the corner. And it was on the corner. Otto is just a jerk. The girl, the girl he's after, pursuing, gets in the car. And she's like, is this your car? And he's like, yeah, it's one of them. Just one of them. I bet you're pretty slick. I bet you're a used car salesman. It's very kind of using some D-bag speak here. He says that he's a repo man. What's that? It's a repossessor. I take back cars from dildos who don't pay their bills. And there's two dudes and the next car over. They look like feds. And she's like, don't look at them. And we now get Hombre Secreto by The Plugs, more commonly known as Secret Agent Man.
That's great. I love this. Yeah, this song is so good. Yeah, it's great.
It was definitely
very fitting.
Definitely a good cover.
She shows him a picture of 4 dead aliens. And she's like, yeah, laugh away. That pic is going to be on the cover of every major newspaper in 2 days' time. She's part of a secret network. Another scientist smuggled 4 dead aliens off an Air Force base in the trunk of his car. It's a Chevy Malibu. We have to find them. What are you going to do? Put them on in Carson? Yes, we're going to have a press conference and tell the world. And he takes her to this place called the United Fruitcake Outlet, which is, I guess, where scientists hang out. It's a good place for these guys.
It's a good front company for,
yeah. Yeah. Don't isn't there like a weird front building and they live too, where the science guys hang out?
Oh,
I don't think there's much of a connection, but
I'd have to rewatch it, and we probably will soon. So
yes, because that I would love to do. That would be a great.
I think it's on the queue. Channel. I'm pretty sure it's on the queue.
Yeah, I hope so, because I will gladly join with that one.
I'm pretty sure you're invited. I'm not sure if I am, but I'm pretty sure you're invited.
Oh my God, I hope you are.
Oh, thanks.
Thanks. The radio's talking about strange creatures on the loose. Otto asks her if she wants to go out with him sometime. She's busy with work. And he's like, yeah, well, here's her shit. And there's her stuff out. Says girls might go out with him if you lighten up a little.
He's a bit of a misogynist, maybe. I don't know.
Just a touch.
I mean, you could label him, I guess, but yeah.
It works because she asks him if he wants to get back in the car, and they go in the back seat and they get it on.
Yeah, it was amazing how well that worked.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's amazing how well that worked.
I kind of thought that the scene in the car, the sped up Nookie scene, was very reminiscent of the same sort of scene from Clockwork Orange.
I knew you were gonna say that. Yes.
Yeah.
Where Malcolm McDowell has I think 2 or 3, probably 2 girls he invites to his bed, and it's just this super sped up Nookie scene. Yeah, 2 sounds right.
Okay.
Yeah, when I watched it last night, I was like, oh yeah.
$20K for a Chevy Malibu. Somebody's looking for the Malibu. Otto is at his Repo Man desk. I guess they have desks if you're a Repo Man. And he picks up what looks like it's a newspaper. It's a real newspaper in this world, but it kind of looks like Weekly World News.
I think it was Weekly World News.
Yeah.
Well, the dead aliens are on the cover, and they will land any day now. And he is back now with light. And they are nonchalantly walking up to a nice red car with a stick to break into the window.
By the way, this was one of my favorite cars in the movie that they repossessed.
Nice.
That 1970s Pontiac. Oh, that was a pretty car. I'm more of a Camaro fan, but man, that was still a pretty car.
I ride the bus.
Light tells him to put a seatbelt on. He doesn't ride with anybody without a seatbelt. He's very principled.
Part of his code, I guess.
Yeah.
He's got his own repo
Light
code.
Subscribes to the repo code per se, but he has his own code.
Well, he says that he will kill anybody who crosses him. It's a very different attitude than Bud. He is the he is almost like the yin to Bud's yang in some ways.
Yeah, he's definitely the more violent.
Light puts on a cassette.
He knows he has an intimidating presence, and he uses it to his advantage.
Oh, for sure.
That's true. Light puts on a cassette tape. He says he knew these dudes before anybody, and he partied with them all the time. And they asked him to be his manager, their manager, but he said no way. You kind of get the impression here Light's kind of full of shit. He's kind of a
little bit.
Yeah. He's kind of a tall tale kind of guy.
Because then we play a cassette of probably the most generic funk music that I've ever heard.
Yeah, well, Otto finds what looks like a rat present. Light takes it and tosses it out the window because he doesn't jive for no man. And it looked like it was a box full of cash. And he just kind of tossed it out the window because he's living his gimmick so hard that he's just, you know, overlooking these good things coming his way. He asked him if he's read his copy of Diuretics, The Science of Matter Over Mind, which is a spoof on a certain Hollywood religion.
Yes, that is about as close as you can get without getting sued by, well, I'm not going to name the name because I would rather not get sued myself.
Yeah, they'll shut us right the fuck down, man. they'll send Tom Cruise over to snuff our asses.
Oh, God.
We can't even talk about that, dude. We can't even talk about that. They'll send Travolta. We can't do that.
He says, you better read it quick. This book would change your life. And he found it in an old Maserati in Beverly Hills. And the next scene is Otto throwing the book into a fire. Because Otto ain't having it, man.
Otto has no fucks to give whatsoever. Like, he just doesn't.
He is completely out of them.
He is back with Miller, the resident weirdo at the repo place. And Miller kind of has a speech here. He says a lot of people don't realize what's really going on. They view life as a bunch of unconnected incidents and things. They don't realize that there's like lattice of coincidence that lays on top of everything. I'll give you an example, show you what I mean. Suppose you're thinking about a plate of shrimp. Then somebody will say plate or shrimp or plate of shrimp out of the blue with no explanation. No point in looking for one another. It's all part of the cosmic unconsciousness. So he's kind of what were this called, synchronicities? He's describing synchronicities.
Yeah.
And he's laying out this kind of pantheist worldview. The idea that God, the universe and God are the same, and it's a universal mind. And because all things are... Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, for a movie that is so against something like Dianetics and that whole spiel, they're pretty on board the idea of all of these new age ideas.
Yeah, very, very much so. Very much so. There was a good line here. He asks him if he ate a lot of acid back in the hippie days, because Otto's kind of like, because you guys have any friends who took acid and they just won't shut the hell up about this kind of crap, and there's always rambling about how we're all one. It's very Alan Watts. It's very very hippie chic.
I had friends in high school who took both acid and mushrooms, and they were both they would not shut the hell up about their amazing experience and their just clandestine and mind expanding experience of taking these hallucinogenics. And I just go,
I've taken all that shit and it never did anything for me. And I certainly didn't talk to anybody about it.
No.
But I've done mushrooms, I've done acid, whatever.
Okay, so I'll give you another instance. You know the way everybody's in the weirdness right now? You could be talking about 2020. But
this movie
markets.
To that point, this movie pretty much has a really timeless value to it. Like even like the punk costumes and like the style and stuff. Like it could have been set today because it's like it's just really timeless. I think
you're not wrong at all.
He's talking about books in all the supermarkets about Bermuda Triangles, UFOs, the Mayans invented television, that kind of thing. And Otto says he doesn't read them books because he's a super nihilist guy. And why would you read a book if you're a nihilist guy?
What are you reading them for?
Well, the way I see it, it's exactly the same.
What are you reading them books for?
There ain't no difference between a flying saucer and a time machine. People get so hung up on specifics, they miss out on seeing the whole thing. Take South America, for example. In South America, thousands of people go missing every year. Nobody knows where they go. They just disappear. But if you think about it for a while and realize something, there had to be a time when there's no people, right? Where did all those people come from? I'll tell you where. The future. Where did all the people disappear to? The past. That's right.
This starts to really, really get into the rambling idea. There's a YouTube series with this guy who makes this weird sock bat guy. It kind of ties into this whole idea that this really rambling, pseudoscientific but religious aspect of, I mean, obviously woo is woo, but it really started to feel like this guy.
Well, I think it's just supposed to be some crazy hobo kind of rambling about crazy things.
Yeah.
It was kind of just taking it all in.
I can dig the lattice of coincidence type stuff, but after that, it's just like, nah. Because, I mean, the thing says about plate of shrimp or whatever, like that kind of shit does happen, Like, there's weird coincidences that happen all the time, but I'm not going to say it's the universal unconsciousness or whatever.
Right.
Fucking flying saucers, time machines.
Well, what he's saying is that's what he's saying. Flying saucers are time machines, according to Miller. And he says, I think a lot about this kind of stuff. I do my best thinking on the bus. That's why I don't drive, see? But you don't even know how to drive. He doesn't want to know because the more you drive, the less intelligent you are. It's very interesting.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah. I can definitely attest to that.
Yeah.
Hey, this was before podcast, though. I guess they had books on tape.
I mean, just go on any city bus. There's like just total genius, like everywhere. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otto is back on the job with Bud, and Bud has a UFO story. Color lights, sounds and lights like I've never heard before. And as he's saying this, they're going through a tunnel, and there's a bunch of strange lights in the tunnel. And Otto says, do you think all Repo Men follow the code? Bud's like, of course. I mean, you see a lot of effed up cars come in, but 99 times out of 100, it's the customers that effed them up. And we're back to the scientist guy in the Chevy Malibu.
Oh, by the way.
Yes.
I just want to say that line right there is foreshadowing. You'll probably hit on it as we get closer to the next, or to a few scenes from here. But yeah, that's some foreshadowing.
Yeah, this next scene, like Bud is on the phone and he's offering people money to give up the location of their friends and family's cars. Total dirtbag move.
Bud's awesome.
Rodriguez brothers are hearing about the Malibu and they want to know why it's worth so much. Bud is outside of their base and he's yelling at them and calling them dildos. That word gets thrown around a few times here, which is nice.
A lot.
And they toss him down a note. And it is the Chevy Malibu wanted poster for 20 grand.
Was at this point, was Marlene with the Rodriguez brothers? Because it should be noted that she works for both sides.
She does.
Yeah.
She's playing all sides.
She's a double repo agent.
She is. Back to the spooky lady from earlier. She's monitoring phone calls in her high-tech van. And she gets Otto's phone call to the science chick from earlier, and he's heard something about that car. And he shows up at the science guy place and tries kissing her, but she cuts him off. And he starts taking his clothes off. And she's like, I'm at work, Otto. Your work's different than mine. And the least he could do is give me a BJ. And she slaps him.
He just has this rudimentary caveman mentality.
He's a very simple man. Her boss
Otto he just wants what he wants when he wants it. He doesn't care.
It kind of feels like that's the way that the story was written. He's the hero. He's not even an anti-hero in the mind of, well, our director and writer. So this kind of doesn't feel like something that he would be against. He
is the Byronian anti-hero for sure. Bud is talking to Light.
Well, they already established a sexual relationship. So he just figured he was going to, get some more because that's why she called him there. I mean, he wasn't just going to
understand women.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
I don't think Otto would do that just for some random chick on the street. He would just start taking off his clothes and be like, hey, put it.
Bud tells Light that once he gets that 20 grand, he's going to buy a tow truck, a couple of pit bulls, and a yard. And he's going to sit around and watch everybody else do the work for a while. Bud has big dreams. He wants to be the man. Light says he can't do that for 20 grand, man. The hell I can't. As long as he's got good credit, with my credit is spotless. Bud is very into credit, and we'll come back to this later.
Yeah.
Oh, we're coming back to right now. He's in the car with Otto, and Bud says, credit is a sacred trust. It's what our free society is founded on. Do you think they give a damn about their bills in Russia? And he's like, they don't pay the bills in Russia. It's all free. Free? What are you, a freaking commie? Better not be. I don't want no commies in my car. And then he pauses and says, no Christians either. It's very telling. Bud kind of represents the forces of usury and financial shenanigans. And it's very telling that he is against both Christianity and communism. It's very, lucre is his god. Filthy lucre is the god of Bud.
Just, yeah, it feels almost like a pastiche.
We see the Malibu now, the car wash. Where's this guy going? He's just circling LA. Kevin the nerd works at the gas station.
Just driving around randomly, yeah.
Like, he is. Kevin the nerd asks if he needs a vacuum. Car guy is sick, and he only has one eye showing through his shades, and he's puking. Kevin asks him if he wants him to check the trunk. Why would you ask that? That's very weird. Like, why would a gas station attendant be like, hey, want me to check your trunk, dude? Like, that would be a good way to get hit.
Yeah, I noticed that watching it last night. There's no real reason for him to do that.
Yeah, it's just Kevin being Kevin.
The plot
kind
demands.
Yeah.
The Rodriguez brothers show up, and they say, hey, Kevin, I left a book of matches inside. Can you go get them for me? And he's like, yeah, ridiculous.
Sure. Again, the plot demands at that point.
Not a credit card or something. A book of matches. Like, are you fucking kidding? Like, who would go back for a book of matches? You know?
He could have just said, hey, could you give me a book of matches? But he had to say he left them there to show how dumb Kevin is.
Yeah, Kevin's like a hard 75 IQ or something, you know. He's
not even room temperature. He'll
be manager.
They take the they get the Malibu and they take off. And the next scene, Otto, he is sweet talking this little lady about not wanting to take her car. And how she just needs to make the payment. And then a bunch of rough-looking musicians come home while he's sitting there having this coffee with her. And she says that he's there for money for the car. And Otto's very nervous, and he's trying to get out of there. And he shuts the door and gets off the steps, and he sees the car. And he foolishly gets inside and tries to steal it, but it won't move because it's on blocks. And the musician guys come out.
Weird. Like, how did he not notice that? I think like one tire was up on a jack, but like, how did he not notice that before he got in?
Even in a strange car, you would feel it.
Yeah.
Butter Light would have noticed.
I thought that was kind of like a little plot heavy there.
Yeah.
And they come out and he's like, hey, it's cool, man. I like music too. And they beat him with a guitar.
Such a non sequitur.
They're back in the yard.
There's lots of those in this movie.
This is true.
Miller's doing this kind of Native American chant and wrapping a rag over Otto's head. And he has a spat with the rent-a-cop for no good reason. Light needs a driver. And Light tells Fleshner, the rent-a-cop, to shut up, and they're off. And we cut back now to the Rodriguez brothers. They're in the Malibu, and they think it's too hot in there. We better check the trunk. Trevor says, no, we're just the mules. So they kind of have a code.
Yeah.
Even the Rodriguez brothers, they aren't going to jack stuff from the trunk. Duke and the punks from earlier are stealing a bunch of medication from a pharmacy. And they run off, and Mohawk punk guy stops to shake hands with a bum under a bridge.
By the way,
yes,
this scene, I want to kind of mention, this is where I really, because I mentioned it to you, I think about this time when I was watching the movie. This is where I really think that there's a huge influence for Tarantino. This
could be
really episodic and ultimately kind of disconnected storyline, yet it still kind of meets up in the middle. It does come together, but it's extremely episodic for a movie.
Yeah, it is kind of a sum of parts. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the sum is greater than the parts.
Agreed.
This one. Yeah.
we're back now. Rodriguez, one of the brothers, is telling Marlene that the car is hot. It's like, no, not stolen, hot, like literally hot to the touch. And while he is on the phone, Duke and the Punk steal the car while surf music, guitar music plays. All right. Dun, 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 dun. Light is giving Otto a speech about how he didn't fight in the war. Otto says that Marlene was pretty hot. Light lets him know that he was in on that action from day one. No, he wasn't. But that's the vibe I got. Light's kind of just, kind of full of poo.
Yeah.
That's great.
Otto's now.
I still like Light.
Yeah, he's definitely a great character.
I'd hang out with him. He'd scare the shit out of me, but I'd hang out with him. For sure.
Otto's now Jimmy.
I worked with a couple of guys like him back at one of my old stores.
Better to be on the good side.
Yeah. But yeah, we always got along with Light's archetypes.
Otto's now breaking into a car. It's a very nice looking blue car, and he gets no problem. He puts the key in the ignition, and a bullet goes through the window, and he's taking cover, and he's calling for Light.
By the way, it should be noted, a bullet goes through the passenger side window, but not through the driver's side window.
Oh, maybe that one was a bulletproof window on the other side.
Low caliber? I don't
No.
know.
Light pulls out a gun, and he says, still on the job, white boy, get in the car. And he's referring to the car they're still stealing. Otto's trying to run away, but Light's like, nope, we're doing this, steal it. And Light is very intense. And he's just shooting his gun off. And Otto says, you're crazy, Light. You can't shoot into people's houses. What if he shot the guy? What if I did?
So what if I did?
Yeah, well, that's pretty severe. Light then shoots the ground right by him as he's drinking, and Otto drops his beer. And he says, blanks get the job done too. So he had a gun full of blanks. He wasn't really doing that.
So he's putting some threats to the repo code, I guess.
He says, you Repo Men, you guys are all out to lunch. One-Eye Scientist guy now, he's calling Layla using a scrambler for some reason. And while he was on the phone, the men in black show up, and they wipe out the phone booth, and they kidnap Layla, the girlfriend character. And we have the funeral lady, the lady that's all kind of gothed out, and her crew. They are listening in while they interrogate her, and they ask her if she ever thought about joining the CIA. Back at the yard now, they're all singing Jingle Bells, and they ask Otto about his face. And he says some guy did it to him, but it's no big deal. Bud says Repo Men don't go to the man. They handle things alone, just like John Wayne. Damn right, just like John Wayne. What's wrong with that? And Miller says that John Wayne is a fag. And everybody's very, very mad now. And like, what? John Wayne was a fag. And then in unison, they all say, the hell he was. And he says, he was two boys. I installed two-way mirrors in his pad in Brentwood, and he'd come down on the door in a dress. That doesn't mean he was a homo Miller.
It's also a massive... It's really a red herring because from what I've been reading, I actually looked this up. Apparently there's some truth to this, but a two-way mirror...
No way.
No, I don't believe it. The first site that I found said that it was potentially true, but it's also still it's a non sequitur because, okay, so what if there's a two-way mirror? Why does that have anything to do with him showing up to the front door in a dress? So
what you're saying, Megiddo,
it's ridiculous.
So what you're saying is watching your friends have sex doesn't make you gay.
No. No, I'm just saying it doesn't connect. The idea of I have a two-way mirror and he showed up. Oh, sorry. And he showed up at his front door with a dress. Those don't really connect narratively.
Well, they do if you're. That's just a sex pervert thing, you know. It's if you have one sex pervert thing, you're probably likely into some others. But the guy says, "Let us straight." Yeah, go ahead.
I can picture the Duke possibly wanting to watch his buddies fuck, but I could not picture the Duke wearing a dress ever.
No.
So
I think this is just Alex Cox's way of kind of sticking an eye or a thumb in the eye of authority.
it's
Yeah.
a really
And
demoralizing line, you know. It's kind of like pissing on an American institution for no reason
Yeah.
at all. It's kind of like, you know, the tone of this movie, and I love this movie, but it's kind of like, let's just, you know, take all this stuff and just shit all over it, you know.
Let's just tear it down.
Like
irreverent.
these sacred cows. Let's just like make hamburgers, have a barbecue, fry up all these.
It's an
sacred cows.
irreverent movie, I would say.
Yeah.
Very.
Okay.
And at this
Alex
point, John
Cox-
Wayne has only been dead for like 5 years, so it's kind of like little.
Oh, that's double hurt.
Yeah, exactly.
Alex Cox has a problem with authority and masculinity. That was in my notes. Light says, man, F. John Wayne, tell us the name of the guy who did this to your face. Don't take this personal, kid. What matters is that Repo Man got beat up in the line of duty. It doesn't matter what this was to you. What matters is that the guy who did this has to pay the price. Now stop being selfish and tell us his name. And the Repo Men now are all dressed in black shades and police hats. And they're on the way to mess up the guy who did it. And he gives them the name of the manager from the beginning of the movie.
Mr. Humphreys.
It doesn't. Wouldn't they
Yes.
have records of the repo calls he goes on? It seems kind of weird that wouldn't they be able to cross-reference that and know that that's not the guy who did it?
I feel like they were
I don't
kind
know
of
if their
lazy in
record
terms
keeping is
of.
all that succinct.
Yeah, exactly.
They just want theirs done to beat somebody up. Otto gets a call from Layla while news about Guatemala plays in the back. Duke and the Punks are now at a punk bar. This song, When the Shit Hits the Fan by Circle Jerk, is playing in the back. It's kind of a laid-back acoustic song played over a drum machine. And Otto is being interrogated by the spooky lady.
Who has a
And,
metal hand for no reason whatsoever.
Yes, that we kind of talked
It's
about
just
that a
one of
little
those
bit.
weird things that they added. to
She
this movie for no reason.
she's on the left-hand path.
There you
and
go.
she's a
Yeah.
transhumanist.
That's the only thing I can
Yeah.
really think of is the left-hand path, and because we had actually talked about it, and Jim, you'd actually mentioned Dr. Claw from Inspector Gadget, and he actually had a right metal hand.
So you're
That's all
saying
you
this
ever
was
saw
not,
of him.
yeah. The punks show up now. They're giving Otto a hard time, and they drop a bunch of butyl nitrate on the desk and start sniffing it. Duke says, F this, or somebody says, let's go do some crimes. Very, very
Let's go do
blatantly.
some crimes.
They go back out to the Malibu, and the science guy from earlier is there, and he asks them what is in their trunk. I think you're afraid to find out. Duke ain't afraid of nothing, and he pulls a gun on the science guy, and he goes to open the trunk. It's glowing, and the chick makes him shut it. Archie, he's kind of the other punk guy is kind of asserting himself, and Duke kicks him out of the gang. And then Archie opens the trunk and is incinerated, leaving only his Doc Martens. And
Such a
Duke's
waste of
girl says,
potential.
Yes.
come on, Duke, let's go do those crimes. Yeah, let's go get sushi and don't pay.
By the way, the MacGuffin that we have here with the trunk and the aliens, again, this is where I get another kind of lean toward Quentin Tarantino. The bright light and the unpredictable effects, that to me is
Marcellus Wallace.
Yeah, exactly. I think
I got you. Yeah.
I
That's a
really
good
think
take, man. That's a
Tarantino
good call.
was, yeah, I think he was at least a little bit influenced by this movie.
Okay.
He was a video
Okay,
store
so-
clerk, so I'm sure he rented this a trillion times, like
Oh, sure.
we all did.
That's true.
Yeah.
So Science Guy has the car again, but the Rodriguez brothers are onto him. And the Repo Men are behind them and see what's going on. And they say, come on, boys, we've got the whole team here tonight. Let's settle this hash for good. And they're going after them. And they run them off the road, and Bud has a bat. But the Rodriguez brothers threaten to sue them for whiplash. It's not a repo car they're driving, and they're going to make them pay for it. very strange. It doesn't really make a lot of sense.
It feels like moving the goalposts a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Rodriguez brothers are going to sue them for malicious damage, medical expenses, and harassment. All right. Everybody's arguing. Rent-a-cop guy's knitting. And they tell Bud to take the week off. Bud thinks they want the money for themselves. They tell him not to come back. Bud's walking by. He calls a bunch of people outside of a pawn shop a bunch of trash. And Otto says, Jesus, Bud, they're winos. They don't have any money. Bud thinks they aren't communicating anymore. There's a lot of dissent in the repo crew. This is kind of the... they're all having a rough patch. The fellowship is breaking up.
Oh, no.
And Otto gets out of the car and he leaves Bud behind. And he's walking up Skid Row, and there's guys in hazmat suits picking up dead bodies.
Which, by the way, I don't remember you mentioning it earlier. There was actually there was a dead guy that they were picking up earlier in the movie that was on the news, and it was basically just kind of passed over. There wasn't a whole lot of focus put on the hazmat team picking up the dead guy off the streets of LA. But here, there's actually some kind of focus on it.
Yeah. There's a lot going on in the background of this movie. He sees the Chevy Malibu, and he starts chasing it on foot. And the driver is driving erratically. And Otto throws up over the side of the overpass, and the car gets away. But he goes down after it. What's that?
I kind of wonder why he threw up.
He's just out of shape, dude.
Yeah, he's running, you know.
Is the out of shape, or is it the radiation, or something else
out of shape?
Going on
I think it's just out of shape. Like, he was hauling ass after this car. He just got gas and just threw up. I mean, we've all done it. I mean, I've done it.
But it catches up with the car, and the guy, his name is J. Frank Parnell. That is the science guy driving the car. And he asks him if he's ever been to Utah. And he starts giving a speech about radiation, psychobabble about neutron bombs and lobotomy. And he says, it's so immoral working on things. It can drive you. And it happened to a friend of mine. It can drive you, and he had to have a lobotomy because of it.
I wanted to Google that name to see if it meant anything, but I didn't. So
I think the key here is this man has received occult knowledge and it has driven him insane. He has too many secrets.
Or the thing in the trunk. No.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
MacGuffin.
What kind of car does your friend drive? A Chevy Malibu. This is a really nice little car. Why don't you let me drive it? And the guy passes out. Otto takes the wheel, and they kind of bump into a wall. This guy's bleeding out of his nose. Yep, go ahead.
It's kind of implied that this guy, J. Frank Parnell, was one of the architects of the neutron bomb.
No, okay.
Like, this guy driving the car, it's implied that he helped invent the neutron bomb.
Interesting.
At least that's how I took it. That's why I forgot to look up the guy's name, but J. Frank Parnell, see if that was a real person. But Trembling, do you know? You there?
It kind of seems like maybe like some kind of Oppenheimer pastiche kind of cut up guy.
Yeah.
Otto pulls him out of the car, gets in, and just leaves the dude. He gets in the car and just leaves Parnell there to die, assumingly. And he takes the car back to the yard, and he shuts the gate. And there's a sign on the fence that says, "Big party at Miller's. See you there." So, Otto is the one who finally gets the car. Everybody's wanting the car the entire movie. Otto gets the car. Why do you think that is, Garlock?
Well, it really passes between a bunch of I mean, the Rodriguezes get it, like the Punks get it, then Otto gets it. But I mean, Otto's the protagonist, so it makes sense, for plot armor that he'd get it at some point.
I think Otto most closely aligns with the values expressed by the movie. And he is the purest of heart in the repo world, because everybody else wants it for money. Otto is kind of just in this whole thing for some kind of transcendent experience. He likes the money too, of course, but Yeah, he's kind of an adventurer type.
Adventure, excitement, Repo Man crave not these things. I'm sorry I said that.
No, don't be sorry. That was actually
Miller's having a party, and Otto shows up, and there's a bunch of old barflies there. And
Miller's
one of them
place
turns out
is pretty nice, dude. Like he
It
looks like
is.
he lived
Yeah.
under a bridge or something. It's like party at Miller's
Yeah.
place, and it's like this fucking swank mansion or something, you know. And it's just all these random chicks there, all the repo wives.
who were
while
all
he's there,
blonde, I should mention.
while he is there, somebody steals the Malibu. Otto is walking back with the ever-present 6-pack of Repo Man generic beer, and Bud picks him up. Dun, dun, dun. Duke and Debbie are sitting in front of a store. Oh, we lose
Debbie,
Megiddo.
yeah, cool.
Yeah, Duke and Debbie. There we go.
I'll be
Yeah,
right back.
Hey. And Duke's giving a little spiel to Debbie about how now they have some money and Archie's gone. Don't you think we should settle down, get a little house, and have a baby? Everybody does it. Seems like a thing to do. And she just shoves a popper under his nose, and they go and rob the store. So it's kind of a stab at the normie life by Alex Cox.
Yeah. Well, let's go do the crime.
They go in. The security guard Louis from earlier in the movie is also at the store, and he pulls a gun on them trying to rob the place, and we have a Mexican standoff.
He
Bud gets
pulls
shot.
the gun on Bud, who pulls the gun to like maybe thwart the robbers. So the security guy like is actually sort of helping the robbers by pulling the gun on Bud, who's trying to thwart the robbers, because the security guy
he's
is pretty much shit his job.
He's kind of a clown, man. He kind of sucks.
Yeah.
So Bud gets shot, Duke gets shot, the clerk gets shot. Debbie and Duke are alone. Seems like Debbie might shoot Otto. He makes a crack about making her a repo wife. She tosses him popcorn and leaves.
I wonder
Debbie's
why
good.
like she tossed him the popcorn. Like that was kind of just weird, non sequitur. Like keep watching the show.
That was
like,
odd.
I don't know. It was weird. It was probably
Duke is dying, and he says, lights are growing dim. I know a life of crime led me to this sorry fate. I blame society. Society made me what I am. And Otto very correctly says, that's BS. You're a white suburban punk just like me. And Duke starts gargling blood, and he dies. And you're going to be all right, man. Maybe not.
Maybe not. Yeah. Rest in peace, Duke.
The Men in Black find the science guy, Parnell, and they torch his body. And Otto is back at the yard. The Men in Black are there. Rent-a-Cup guy's he's hiding. Otto shows up, and Marlene starts beating up the feds. And the Rent-a-Cup guy is with the feds and pulls a gun on Marlene. Otto throws coffee on him. This movie has utter disdain for Rent-a-Cops.
Definitely.
Rent-a-Cup guy.
Yeah. Well,
the
Fletcher sucks. I mean, really, dude.
Yeah.
Like Fletcher's just he's a lame stain.
It's true.
Even as rent-a-cops go.
Why would you need a Rent-a-Cop there anyway? I mean, they all got guns.
To knit you sweaters.
Yeah, I guess so.
They get cold. Repo
The
sweaters.
feds are interrogating Otto, and they say, since time is short and you may lie, I'm going to have to torture you. Where's the Malibu? He doesn't know. And Layla, his girlfriend, is there turning the knob to electrocute him. And she's in on it, I guess. And she's like, well, what if he's innocent? And the metal hand lady says, nobody's innocent. Proceed.
That's poignant.
This part of the movie is here kind of, we'll come back to this, but I think there might be something to this scene here. Some people break in and rescue him. They have trench coats and Uzis. It is the Rodriguez brothers and Marlene. Metal hand lady says it's all part of the plan. At this point, I kind of think the movie fell apart about 10 minutes ago. It kind of just crazier and crazier things just keep happening, and it's kind of hard to keep track of what's going on.
Yeah, this is where I think things started to get, like I had told you before, they started to feel like UHF. The Weird Al movie. It starts to get into the really strong non sequitur, just bizarre, out of place feeling.
Series of skits or something.
Yeah, it kind of feels like that.
Well,
Like we don't know what happens, but we had all these skits. Let's throw them all together. And
Yeah.
so
And it gets more like that toward the end.
one thing we talked about, Jim, was you mentioned like, why would the Rodriguez brothers rescue Otto? And I think what happened was Marlene pretty much told them to do it because Otto had just helped her out with the feds.
no, okay, that could be it.
So yeah,
The whole
and
double agent
Marlene,
thing.
you know, kind of likes Otto.
Marlene and Otto beat up some nurses and steal their uniforms. Otto lifts a sheet going by, and it's Kevin the nerd. Kevin is he's in like every part of this movie, and they
Gotta
see
show
a
up.
scent. They see a scent freshener hanging on a door, and Bud is in there.
The air freshener is kind of a callback too.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
One of the feds show up, and the Rodriguez brothers are firing an Uzi at them. Bud is watching the televangelist who is now asking people to help him find the Chevy Malibu because he says it belonged to a sweet old lady. Televangelist guy just wants the 20 grand. We see the Malibu driving off. It is now glowing. The repo crew tried to escape, but they are cut off by a metal hand lady and surrounded by the feds. Where's the Malibu? The Rodriguez brothers set off a smoke bomb. Otto runs away and dives out a window and tries breaking into a car. And Marlene and the Rodriguez brothers escape.
The feds had smoke grenades like on their flak jackets, and that's what they set off. So it's kind of like they used their own stuff against them.
Huh.
The feds aren't very competent.
No.
Clearly.
But they're still dangerous.
Otto is back at the yard, and he sees the Malibu glowing in the dark. Bud is in the car, and he's sick.
He's scratching the couch.
And he says some weird stuff, huh, Bud? Bud says, shit, 11 years of repoing cars, and what do I got? Shit. He tells Bud he's sitting in the car with 20 G's. How about they split it 60-40? Who gets the 60? I figure since I found it, me. Bud kind of pulls his pistol out and says, okay, you get the 60, says Otto to Bud. Bud has kind of been corrupted, you know, by at this point in the movie. He's kind of almost like the bad guy now.
But as we see,
Well, he's been obsessed with the Malibu for pretty much the entire movie, from the part where they introduce it. Like, he wants that 20 grand. He wants to fulfill his dream of building a yard with his credit, with his magnanimous credit. Oh, hey, Trembling. Okay.
Parnell is fictional. Justin Oppenheimer standing, like Jim said. The real inventor of the neutron bomb was named Samuel T. Cohen. Oh, it's good to know.
Cool. Thanks, Trembling.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Helicopter shows up, tells him to get.
Oh, wait. Samuel T. Cohen. Yeah, I'm sorry, man. I'm drunk.
That's cool, man. That's cool. All
Makes
right.
it better.
Thanks, Trembling.
Helicopter shows up, tells him to get away from the car. Otto says only an asshole gets killed over a car. Bud's like, you calling me an asshole? Yeah, I'm calling you an asshole.
Going back to the code. Come on, man.
He says, come and get me, copper. I'm well armed and I know where you live. And Bud gets hit by a machine gun. And hazmat guys are getting out. Light shows up and offers dying Bud a beer. There is a force field around the car. Nobody can get near it. One of the hazmat guys catches on fire. One of them pulls out a Bible for some reason, and it gets zapped and set on fire. A little bit of blasphemy here. No
Was that
context.
the televangelist that pulled the Bible out?
I don't know.
I don't think so, but maybe.
I think he was there at the scene for whatever reason, because he got tipped maybe that they found the Malibu because he put it out to his flock. And so he shows up to try and get it and whatever.
Kind of feel like a cheap shot to me. But Miller shows up and gets in the car. One of the black suit guys shows another guy diuretics as this goes on.
Which doesn't
there's
either.
weird stuff here. There's like there's cuts to one of the scientists talking about like vectors and all this kind of weird shit, and I'm just like, what? So yeah, there's a lot of just weird non sequitur gobbledygook going on in like the last act of this movie.
Exactly.
But it's still entertaining. Yeah.
Yeah.
Otto says, Miller, what are you doing? He says, going for a little spin. But you don't know how to drive. And Miller just kind of does one of these to Otto to get in. And Layla says, don't go, Otto. What about our relationship? And Otto's like, yeah, screw that. And he gets in the car.
See, this is another... Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, this is one of those points where it comes even more into focus that possibly UHF, of all movies, may have been influenced somewhat by this, because Dr. Philo, who is named in UHF, he actually did a very, very similar sort of takeoff at the end of that movie.
Sorry, cat.
Could be. So he gets in the car, it starts to float, and it flies away. And Otto literally receives illumination and goes through a form of apotheosis, and he's lifted up by the Holy Fool Miller and flies away. Yeah. And he says, well, this is intense. And Miller says, the life of a Repo Man is always intense.
I guess Miller does fit the Holy Fool archetype pretty well. Kind of like the educated fool.
I think he's some kind of Gnostic archon. He's kind of like an angel, but like within this pantheistic system.
Yeah, it's a very interesting sort of lifting up from the firmament of the earth.
So I think scientist guy with the one eye, he's almost like a Prometheus figure in that he steals a secret from the establishment, and he dies.
Wonder if he's supposed to represent Odin.
Maybe.
Same deal. It's all within this symbolic context.
But yeah, the
Prometheus,
Odin.
Yeah. The opening scene is kind of an Ark of the Covenant kind of deal. The car is kind of a an Ark of the Covenant Grail kind of thing.
And that's where I kind of got a lot of
Grail Quest.
Yeah. That's where I got some of the Pulp Fiction vibes too. The initial, the bright light shining on the face, and just nobody other than the main characters are prepared for it.
I think Otto, the entire movie, he's kind of looking for a transcendent experience. He doesn't want the day-to-day life, and he gets it. And he gets the car because based on and his values that they are the closest to the ones espoused by the movie.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's Miller who invites him, or if it's the aliens or the car that invites him.
That's a good point. That's good.
That's a very good question.
It could be. Another possibility I've seen is that this is the Brazil ending, in that the movie actually ends when he's being interrogated, and everything else after that happens in Otto's head.
That actually makes a lot of sense.
Well, it would explain why the movie kind of goes off the rails after that point, if it's all just happening in his head. And maybe it just ends with Otto being tortured forever or to death. And the car.
This movie does kind of devolve into chaos, but
yeah, it
does start with a guy getting melted by a trunk of a car. So
this is true.
I think it very. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Garlock.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, if it was like kind of like straight and narrow, like up to that point, then I see merit with your theory totally, but I don't know if I would personally subscribe to it.
I don't know that I would either. It's just out there, you know. It's Hey, Trembling Killers, have you heard that theory before, that the ending happened in Otto's head? And
I have my own theory.
Yep, let's hear it.
I have my theory that in Nightmares and the Bishop of Battle, Emilio Estevez gets sucked into this video game at the very end, and then in doing so, he gets sucked into the Repo world, and he becomes Otto.
Could be,
because he's pretty much the same character.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. He's the same character most of his 80s, 90s, up until Mighty Ducks, where he kind of does a 180, and then he just vanishes. He kind of leaves show business. I think he's like a producer.
Did you ever see Rated X? Either of you guys?
Mm-mm.
but mostly Jim. It's a movie about the Mitchell brothers, the old the porn directors from the 70s who did Behind the Green Door.
Okay.
And
wow.
Emilio plays one of them, and Sheen plays the other one. And in real life, the Mitchell brothers, like the Sheen character, got all blown up on coke and obnoxious, and then the other guy, played by Emilio, ended up killing him. And it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, well, that's
That
crazy.
is an odd
Yeah,
idea.
so I think this movie very, very accurately encapsulates a very certain worldview, which I would not recommend to ascribe to.
No.
But it definitely feels very unique. It's very there's not much like it. I mean, it had a lot of influence, but Alex Cox kind of fell off pretty hard. I guess you could say. He does a lot of like indie stuff now.
He's in green screen land now.
I haven't seen any of his recent movies, but they don't look like something I would want to see. Maybe I'm just being a plebe. Maybe they're amazing and I'm missing out. But yeah, probably not. I think this is probably his magnum opus, and it very accurately. If you're a
Sid and Nancy
nihilistic
probably
guy,
got better critical reviews, but like this has definitely stood the test of time. And I mean, watching it in 2020, some 36 years after, like it doesn't really seem anachronistic at all. Like it seems like it could be set today. But there is a lot of sort of like, you know, living in Reagan's America, and you know, like the consumerism thing, but all that shit's like still going on,
right?
You know, so not Reagan's America, but I wish, you know, but.
Awesome, guys. Any other thoughts on Repo Man, guys? Repo Man?
I think we kind of covered a lot of what I was going to say.
No, go ahead, Garlock.
There was an unofficial, not really sequel that Alex Cox did called Repo Chick, which I have not seen.
Yes.
It has a lot of the same actors, but they do not play the same characters because, according to what I've read, in order for a true Repo Man sequel to be made, both Alex Cox and Universal would have to agree on everything. So Universal made Repo Men, which confused the shit out of everybody that likes this movie. And there's also Repo the Genetic Opera, which is completely unrelated, but
not even close.
Yeah, well, I've talked to a lot of people. Like, have you seen Repo Man? Like, oh, the musical? Like, no. Like, have you seen Repo Man? Oh, the one with where they harvest the organs? No. So,
although I will say Repo Man was actually a pretty enjoyable movie.
Oh, well, which one?
Yeah,
Repo Man was also a pretty enjoyable movie, I thought.
Okay. Yeah,
Repo the Genetic Opera was
I fell asleep watching that one.
Yeah,
but I have this thing with musicals. They're just they're put
boring.
Me to sleep all the time. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, I think that's a wrap, guys. Thanks for coming on, and check y'all later.